Welcome to the Software Process and Measurement Cast number 684. I'm Tom Cagley, your host. Today, we post this podcast on January 2nd, 2022. The new year evokes both retrospection and expectations for the future. 2021 was quite a year. SPaMCAST 635 marked the beginning of our 15th year of publication with a conversation with Johanna Rothman. SPaMCAST 635, by the way, was the most downloaded cast of the entire year. It became the most downloaded cast roughly the second week it was out and stayed that way all throughout the year. Conversations with Johanna are always worthwhile. In late August, I actually lost a podcast. It was a summer rerun. SPaMCAST 668 has attained the status of the lost show. Somehow, while I was backpacking on Isle Royale, the pre-programmed show failed to post. I have a backup, but it's more fun to have a lost cast. I'll rectify this situation at some point when I stop being amused. The year ended with my 12-year-old mixer going to the electronics graveyard. The new mixer should be delivered soon. I then had a snafu on the website. All good fun. But along the way, I also was able to do 3 great interviews and 2 related panel discussions that will round out year 15 and kick off year 16. That's the long way around to say that even though I'm struggling through website issues and switching over of hardware, I'm currently planning both year 16 and 17. Happy New Year, and now back to your regular scheduled program with Tony Timbol talking about product owners and work entry on his great To Tell a Story column. Tony Timbol, welcome to the Software Process and Measurement Cast.
Hey, Tom. Great to be here again.
It is always a pleasure, Tony. It's always a pleasure, because I really like talking to you, and it's a pleasure because I think the listeners like listening to you. Hopefully they're interacting with you over at, what's your website?
TonyTimbol.com.
Super. I think that's straight and to the point. So, Tony, on this installment of To Tell a Story, I'd like to sort of wrap up our little theme on product owners. Product owners obviously have a huge impact on the work that the team does. They have a huge impact on user stories, something that you're passionate about. Tony, lots of people still are using matrix teams where they assemble them, blow them up, assemble them again. The word product is probably something they may even use, but they're doing projects and combining and subtracting teams. They may even be doing this with product owners. How does this impact the ability of a team to be repeatable and actually deliver value?
Right. So matrix thinking, where you look at development teams and all the different roles on that team as rearrangeable resources based on funding that's available, based on power structures that may change. That really penalizes the corporation as far as its ability to leverage the knowledge worker value into delivering customer value at the end of the day. And that's because there's a heavy context switching cost when it comes to knowledge work. The human brain is such that it's not a computer. It doesn't multitask. It's single tasks. And so when knowledge workers are constantly context switched between different projects, between different teams, there's a cost of restarting the cognitive onboarding, the cognitive processing, the cognitive delivery of value that the brain provides. So that's the price that organizations pay, is they basically reduce their productivity, thinking that they're, because it's a myth, thinking that they can be more efficient by sharing resources and doing more work, as opposed to doing less work better. In other words, you can do a lot of things poorly or you can do a few things well. And that's the challenge of corporations. Corporations think they can do all things well, and they just can't.
I think you and I have known each other long enough to know that what you've just quoted, we can probably reach out to our bookshelves and find at least a half a dozen good, hard references, not just notes in a book from people that have written about that, but academic studies proving this over and over and over again, especially for people in knowledge. Why are we having this conversation in the middle or the later end of 2021 when this is a known problem?
I think the pandemic has actually underscored it with the great resignation going on, right? And the fact that the job force in many situations people are basically evaluating, hey, look, corporations aren't offering me what I need. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to change careers. I'm going to get education. Life's too short because guess what? I could die tomorrow from getting COVID. And so I think we're seeing a little bit of the pushback by the employees of that, where the employers now are really competing for a workforce that just wants to be treated better, right? And so that being said, it's still going to be a challenge to change an embedded culture that is used to saying, I want this one resource, this one UX engineer to work for 7 teams because he's valuable and I really don't want to put another UX engineer on staff. Or frankly, I can't find one because, they don't want to work for us because we have lousy policies. And so some folks are stuck in the situation. It takes a lot of courage for a business group or a business leader to say, you know what, we're going to actually be realistic about scope. In other words, we can't do everything. We're going to do what we're supposed to do and keep the lights on and make a profit. And we're going to do that very, very well. And that's what we're going to focus on. And they're going to say no to the other things that come to them from their leadership. So it's pretty hard to be an enlightened business leader, whether you're an IT manager or a project management professional or an art release train engineer, whatever, to begin to say no to unrealistic scope expectations. It's difficult.
Is that not something, though, that every product owner, assuming they take the class, ends up getting tattooed on them? You must control work entry. You must gate that such that people can actually focus on the work.
Yes.
So is that what we teach product owners? Is that what you're going to teach product owners in your new class?
Actually, I have taught that to product owners. I use a slogan or a phrase. It says, when people are asking you to do the unrealistic, you can simply say, look, you can't have everything at once, but you can have something first. So pick something. And so, I tell them, you've got to learn to master that phrase or put it in your own words so that you can communicate, because you got to push back because there is no unlimited capacity. That's the myth. Corporations, they're, what's the term, the psychological term? They're functional hypocrites when it comes to scope. We believe that there's no unlimited capacity, but that's not how they live. They may say that, but that's not how they live. And so as a product owner, you have to hold the line for your team, but also Scrum Masters too. They have the metrics that they're supposed to have when it comes to what teams can do from a throughput or velocity perspective. And so they have to also socialize that. But there's always a lot of pressure, both from a financial perspective and so forth, that comes from non-agile people who don't understand those principles. So some of it's just a cultural mindset shift, and others just, you're going to have courage as a professional to stand up and say, no, this team can only do so much.
One of the things that I found in that circumstance, unfortunately, is whether it's a product owner, Scrum Master, project manager, there will always be someone who says yes. That even though no is the right answer, or pick what you want and prioritize it, we'll do it in order, blah. Those sorts of conversations, there is always the person that will just start everything because they're asked to. And in some cases, they do very well by that because people forget. They forget, and so when they defer the pain of saying no, they get away with it.
Yeah. So one of my goals in my consulting and also my work is to basically try to get the metrics in place that allow you to have those behavioral change or cultural change conversations. And so, for example, you'll have a team that has a product owner and has product manager and everybody's got the right roles, but then you'll have a behind the scenes saboteur, such let's say the IT manager who has the HR roles behind them that not intentionally, sometimes intentionally, but just basically because of the culture, the business stakeholder will not go through the product owner. They'll go to the IT person. They'll say, hey, I really need this extra stuff. Can you deliver it? Completely bypassing his own product management role. And the IT manager has their sort of separate relationship. And it's like, yeah, sure, we'll do that. And then that completely blows up the way the model works. And so in a lot of our training, we focus on IT and functional managers to say, look, your role is to support the team, to empower the team. You have delegated both directive authority and you've delegated negotiating authority to the role of the Scrum Master and the product owner. You don't do command and control anymore. And you don't have a separate back channel relationship with the business to do work intake of work that the team now has to handle that has not gone through the iteration planning and the product refinement process. Because if you do that, you're sabotaging the whole thing. So making that change is challenging and difficult in organizations that are slowly making a transition from a command and control environment to a collaborative environment.
Steve Tendon, in his book on Tame Flow, really did an excellent job at laying out the implications of queue jumping, which is exactly what you were just describing, right? So it is painful for everyone. It hurts everyone involved. Tony, how would people continue the conversation? How would they learn about being the right kind of product owner, doing the right kind of user stories?
Super. Well, you can reach out to me on TonyTimbol.com. My branded website has a lot of areas of interest of mine, including Agile Ready, which is the user story rating software system. I'm also going to be offering this in the fall, starting October 16th, a series of practical product owner training, how to master the practical in one day. Because I really feel like product owners really need to know what it is that they have to do to deliver value right away to their businesses, but not worry so much about certification and that particular process. They can contact me through that. And if they're interested, we can talk further about any topic, just open a conversation. There's my email address on there. So Tony Timbol at agileready.net. You'll find that also on the website.
And I'll have that in the show notes. Tony, again, your To Tell a Story column is one of my favorites. I look forward to recording these. I look forward to editing because I get to take notes when I edit.
Very good.
And I learn a lot from you. Thank you again, sir.
You bet.
In Reread Saturday News, starting a reread is a great way to start a new year. Today, we start into Agile Conversations with Douglas Squirrel and Jeffrey Frederick by charting the predicted course of the reread and touching on the introduction. The version of the book I'm reading is the paperback version, copyrighted 2020 by IT Revolution. The book consists of an introduction, 7 numbered chapters, a conclusion, and 20 pages of end matter. All of this over 223 pages. It's my intent to cover the book over 9 weeks, using the chapters as pacing. The book has similarities with Monotasking by Staffan Nöteberg, in that this book demands action. Therefore, like that reread, as we get to Chapter 2, I will begin to identify how I will experiment with the knowledge each chapter delivers. As I've discovered over the years, reading technical and self-improvement books, if you do not experiment with ideas, they fade away quickly, regardless of their value. Remember, buy a copy of Agile Conversations, please consider using the link in the show notes, as that is an Amazon affiliate link, which helps the podcast and, of course, supports the authors. In the next Software Process and Measurement Cast, we feature part 1 of a 2-part panel discussion. Both parts have slightly different participants discussing the world of work, circa 2021, and pontifications about the shape of work in 2022. If process improvement is a never-ending journey, why do so many people ask, are we there yet?